clearly only defeated a single silver slime, yet I never expected that the equipment it dropped would all be S-rank divine artifacts. Due to a system reward error, I unlocked a hidden attribute, causing my luck stat to reach 9,999 points, a change sufficient to rewrite the tragic fate of my previous life. You heard that right, I am a regressor. In my past life, I remained a bottom-tier bronze rank adventurer until I became a white-haired old man, forever stuck on the first floor of the dungeon. Back then, all the low-level adventurers gathered there simply because the battle between humanity and monsters had entered its final stage. The dungeon monsters had swarmed into human society, countless beasts rampaged through the cities, and humanity was utterly defeated. Upon seeing this news, many adventurers began to flee in panic. "Old man, you'd better run. Now is not the time to be hunting slimes," a young man said, offering a kind warning. I coldly rejected him and silently walked toward the slimes ahead. "Just leave him be. He's just a useless old waste." At that moment, another adventurer knocked me aside while running, leaving me to fall powerlessly to the ground. I was so unwilling to accept this. Decades had passed since the birth of the adventurer profession, a time when everyone could increase their level by defeating monsters, subsequently improving their attributes, and even gaining magic or skills. But why was it that only I, even after reaching level 98, saw no change in my attributes? I clearly put in more effort than anyone else, killing slimes every day to gain experience, and now my only hope was to reach the level 99 cap, praying for a miracle to occur. Time was running out. What did it matter if the longsword in my hand was broken? Even if I were to die, I had to reach level 99 today, or I would never rest in peace. Come then, let my fists bear witness to the lifelong wish of this incarnation. I always believed I was the type to bloom late. It had to be that way, as heaven could not possibly play such a cruel joke on me. Just then, a system message appeared. "Takahashi Yakido, you have reached the maximum level. Congratulations." Seeing this, I was beyond excited. It was here, finally. "Quickly, reward me for all these years of hard work. Your strength has increased by 1. Seeing this trivial message, I was instantly stunned. This is impossible. Are you messing with me? I spent a lifetime finally reaching the level cap, only to have my strength increase by a single point. There was no hope left. At this moment, countless high-level monsters had arrived, quickly surrounding me. In my despair, I had no strength to resist. This truly was the worst life. I was loathed by everyone, and not a single person was willing to party with a failure like me. I couldn't save my mother because of my incompetence, and I even ruined the happiness of my only younger sister. This life is finally over. A system message appeared. "Death. A fatal error has occurred with Takahashi Yukido's status system. Applying the repair patch and doing a rollback on his life. Hidden parameters released. Giving status bonuses as an apology. Unique status points, plus 9,999. When I opened my eyes again, I found I had returned to my younger self. Congratulations. From this moment on, you are a true adventurer. At that moment, I was full of confusion. Is there something wrong? No. Well then, thank you. After a while, I sorted through my thoughts and finally understood the current situation. I had regressed and returned to the day I became an adventurer. What happened? I remember seeing something about status bonuses right before I died. When I opened my status bar, everything looked the same as before. However, there was a new option to scroll down. When I scrolled down, I was shocked to find a new attribute in the status bar. Luck, 9,999 max. In my past life, luck must have always been a hidden attribute. Could it be that because I was plagued by misfortune for 70 years in my past life, heaven finally decided to compensate me? Regardless, I should head to the dungeon to kill some slimes and see what happens. The scene shifts to the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon, the unfading footprints. Seeing those few slimy slimes on the grass, I suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. In my previous life, I killed them every day, and looking back now, I actually felt a bit of nostalgia. Just then, a black shadow flashed behind me. When I turned to look, I was surprised to find a silver slime, an ultra-rare monster I had only encountered once in my previous life. Back then, it escaped while I was chasing it. Killing it would grant a massive amount of experience all at once. However, they are famous for their speed. As soon as they sense danger, they flee instantly, so one must approach quietly from behind. Yet, at this critical moment, an arrow suddenly shot down by my feet. It turned out an archer nearby had also spotted this prey, and their aim was terribly off. "You idiot, now it's all over." Startled, the silver slime actually charged toward me. How lucky! Not only did it not run away, but it also made me its target, exactly what I wanted. Immediately, my longsword pierced the top of the silver slime's head, and a moment later, its core began to crack. With one final slash, the silver core shattered completely. Then my level increased by 4. As expected of a silver slime, leveling up is fast. Unfortunately, my longsword snapped after just one hit. It seems I need to buy a new weapon quickly. At that moment, a golden light flashed behind me, and an S-rank rare sword actually dropped. Is this the effect of maxed out luck? A system notification appeared. Great Sword of the Silver Slime. Feature: high attack power. Due to the silver slime's nature of escaping from the enemies, there's a 30% chance of missing the attack. Alright, let's hunt to our heart's content. Moments later, just by going into the wilderness once, I encountered 4 ultra-rare silver slimes. Even luckier, the usually timid creatures didn't choose to flee but instead charged right at me. Since you want to give me experience so badly, I won't be polite. I raised the S-rank sword I had just acquired and easily slew them all one by one, with every single hit triggering a critical strike. This is the power of maxed luck. Soon, I obtained S-rank items. The 2 adventurers behind me watched this scene in disbelief. This luck was simply heaven-defying, and so, I continued continued to hunt slimes here. Although I didn't encounter a silver slime every time, I ran into them about 10 times during this period, and they dropped a large amount of S-rank equipment. Today was the happiest day of my life. This feeling was wonderful. In this life, I will use this power to forge a different destiny. I will find the best doctor to treat my mother's illness and, of course, ensure my beloved sister finds her own happiness. I swear to heaven that in this life, I will protect you both. Just as I was thinking about this, I suddenly jolted up. Do I even have a home to return to right now? I've been alone for 70 years. I want to go home. I want to see my family. The longing for my family suddenly surged in my heart, and I felt an immense urgency, my footsteps unconsciously quickening. Soon, I found that old home. After all these years, I had almost forgotten which room was on the second floor. However, when I saw the room number, all the memories of my childhood instantly flooded back. My heart, which had been racing with urgency just a moment ago, was now filled with nervousness. Behind this door were the family members I missed day and night. Just as I mustered the courage to open the door, suddenly, it opened on its own, revealing a familiar figure. Big brother, welcome home. The moment I saw my sister, I could no longer suppress my excitement and pulled her into a hug. I'm back. This time, I will never let anyone take you away from me. I will protect everything I hold dear. After calming down, I told my sister everything that had happened. Hearing my words, my sister was thrilled. Does that mean there's hope for mother's illness? Of course, all it takes is a bit of effort. The next day, I sold some of the rare equipment and obtained a large sum of money. And with that money, I bought a high-grade healing potion at an auction. Afterward, I took my sister to the hospital to visit our mother. Mom, we've come to see you. My mother was very happy to see us. How have you two been? Mom, that's our line. We have a gift for you. Thank you, but please don't bring gifts next time. You two should eat with that money. Mom, you don't need to worry about money anymore. We have another gift for you today. What is it? I know it's sudden, but I want you to drink this. Saying that, I took out the high-grade healing potion. Big brother earned money from the dungeon and brought it for you. But Yahello, didn't you just become an adventurer? Can you really earn so much to be able to afford such an expensive item? I was just lucky. Here, drink it. As my mother drank the potion, a light of healing radiated from her body. How is it, Mom? I feel my body is much lighter now, and even my breathing has become smoother. Hearing this, I felt relieved. Good job, big brother. After the doctor's confirmation, my mother's illness had indeed been alleviated. So, after a period of rehabilitation, she could finally return home to recover. Our family could live together again. It felt like a dream. Nothing can be as relaxing as our home. I'm glad that Mom has gotten better. Yeah, but it's still not enough. Why not? That potion is only a temporary measure. It cannot cure the illness. We need a more powerful legendary healing potion, something like the elixir. Hearing this, my sister suddenly remembered. I saw it on TV. The world's top adventurers found it. A potion that can cure a person on the brink of death. It's likely to appear around the 50th floor, and it cannot be bought or sold. It's a unique item, right? That's correct. The so-called unique items are props that only the owner can use. This is a glory that can only be obtained by defeating powerful monsters. Since it can't be bought with money, we can only rely on ourselves to get it. Big brother, are you confident you can reach the 50th floor? Normally, that's impossible. One would be killed by monsters before even reaching the 50th floor. Hearing this, my sister was deeply disappointed. Then isn't it impossible? Well, I said normally. After saying this, I thought to myself, the power I was given isn't just luck, but also the knowledge I spent a lifetime learning in my past life. I know of an exception, the 20th floor boss, the ancient golem. As long as you defeat it, there is a certain probability it will drop the elixir. It's just that the drop rate is extremely low, and very few adventurers obtained it in my past life. But with the luck I have right now, I should be able to get the elixir. Just then, my sister called out to me, Big brother, you got that scheming expression again. Did I really make such an expression? Well, whatever. If it's you, big brother, you can do anything, right? That's a given. But first, I have to make some preparations. There's always a loophole to everything. The next day, I decided to conquer the dungeon. However, I only wore 2 pieces of S-rank equipment, the great sword of the silver slime, with high attack power but a 30% miss rate, and the silver slime tear, which has a 1/3 chance to have damage effects. Seeing this, my sister curiously asked, Big brother, are you sure you'll be fine with that outfit? Other warriors wear heavy armor. Hearing this, I smiled awkwardly and replied, that's usually the case, but my stats are too low for that. Apparently, no matter how much I leveled up, my basic attributes wouldn't change, remaining forever at their initial state. With this, it'll be impossible to fully equip myself with heavy gear. All I can do is to swing the greatsword, but I did learn a skill by leveling up, the Great Layering Strike, a warrior skill with a 30% chance of unleashing a triple critical attack. And today, I am going to conquer the 5th floor of the Tokyo dungeon, the Alice Crown. Defeating the monsters there gives a chance to obtain the miracle fruit. Anyway, be careful, okay? Also, here, a lunch box. You might get full from that fruit, though. Thank you. After taking the lunch box, I opened the door and set off. See you later. The scene shifts to the forest on the 5th floor, the Alice Crown. This is a stage dominated by plant-type monsters, with a complex environment that makes it extremely easy to get lost. Fortunately, it's just a low-level floor of the dungeon that has already been successfully conquered by countless adventurers, so I easily obtained a detailed map of the area. As long as I follow the map's guidance, there shouldn't be any problems. Soon, I arrived at the first target, the Treyant colony. Treyants are a group of mimic monsters that hunt prey through ambushes. It's very difficult for the naked eye to distinguish them from ordinary trees. However, their mimicry is not perfect. If you look closely, you'll find that their leaves have no veins and their their roots grow in strange directions. The next second, the large tree hit by a stone suddenly moved, its pair of crimson eyes staring at me fiercely. Seeing this, I immediately swung my greatsword at the treant. Treants themselves don't have high attack power. As long as you're careful not to be ambushed, you can easily win. Immediately after, a miracle fruit dropped. I picked it up and took a bite. The taste wasn't bad, but more important than the taste was that my strength increased by 1 point. As expected of the ultra-rare miracle fruit, it can randomly increase an attribute point. This way, I finally have a path to becoming stronger. So, for the next period of time, I relied on my max luck to continuously kill treants, thereby obtaining a large number of miracle fruits. During a break, I ate the lunchbox my sister had prepared. After a day of hard work, all my attributes reached their caps, finally reaching the average level for a warrior of this rank. Just as I was planning to finish up and head home, 2 black shadows flashed behind me. Who's there? Hunting alone isn't a good habit. Let us teach you the etiquette for newbies. 2 suspicious-looking men, one tall and one short, suddenly appeared, and they didn't have adventurer tokens on them. Are you marauders? The so-called marauders are criminals who specifically commit crimes in dungeons. Although I had heard of them, I never expected to encounter them myself. That's right, look at you, Mr. Spoiled Brat, relying on his gear. If you leave that equipment, which is clearly beyond your position, we'll at least spare your life. However, moments later, the tall man lay unconscious on the ground. That's a relief. Everything was activated properly. Just now, the tall man charged at me with his sword, using Bee Sting, a skill that required level 25 to learn. In other words, his level was clearly far above mine. Furthermore, Bee Sting is a guaranteed hit skill that cannot be avoided, and in exchange, its attack power is reduced by 30%. On the other hand, the silver slime tear I enchanted my clothes with has a 1/3 chance to have damage, which ultimately resulted in the power being insufficient to cause any substantial harm to me. While the tall man was still wondering what happened, my 30% hit rate skill triggered perfectly, blasting him into the tree behind him and knocking him unconscious on the spot. If I didn't have luck on my side, I would have a gaping hole in my stomach right now. The fat man watched the scene in disbelief, never expecting his companion to be taken down in a single hit. If you turn yourself in, I don't mind forgiving you. Hearing himself being belittled, the fat man was instantly furious. Don't underestimate me. I am a mage. Warriors are easy to handle from this distance. I casually sheathed my greatsword and said, indeed, at this distance, I would be hit by your magic before I even reached you. As long as you understand, if you're smart, just surrender, otherwise. At this time, I reached into my system storage and took out a magic staff. Surrendering was impossible. Seeing me take out a magic staff, the fat man laughed. Do you even know what that is? I do. It's the staff of nonsense. I picked it up from a treant earlier. The fat man thought to himself, this guy is just an amateur. He knows nothing. Although the staff of nonsense is considered a rare item, it's essentially garbage. The magic activation depends entirely on luck, and its stability is at its lowest point. Someone specifically calculated the probabilities. About a 40% chance of failure, a 30% chance to cast basic magic, a 20% chance for a buff effect, and only a 9% chance to use intermediate magic, let alone the 1% chance for advanced magic. However, I had already activated the function of the staff of nonsense, and the magic was being randomly selected. In that case, don't blame me for being impolite. The magic I'm casting now is intermediate magic. Even if you're incredibly lucky and hit that 9% chance for intermediate magic, my magic will be strengthened due to my equipment. In other words, as a mage, it's impossible for me to lose. Your beginner's luck ends here. With that, he cast an intermediate fireball. A massive flame shot toward me, but at this moment, I didn't care at all because my magic was also ready. I saw various elemental mana swirling around the staff of nonsense, and finally, a fire-type magic was selected. The next second, a massive flaming boulder appeared above my head. As my hand fell, the terrifying flaming boulder shot toward the opponent. The intermediate fireball was instantly swallowed by the massive flames. At this moment, the fat man was terrified. How is this possible? He actually hit the 1% chance for advanced magic. The fat man could only watch helplessly as the massive fireball flew toward him, and he had no strength left to flee. This must be an illusion. How could there be such a lucky person in this world? It's hot. Please stop it. A tragic scream pierced the sky, and the entire forest was swallowed by the violent explosion. Fire and shockwaves swept in all directions. After the dust settled, only a scorched crater remained, with the pathetic fat man in the center of the pit. Due to the overload of this casting, the staff of nonsense was actually broken. However, I didn't care at all and tossed it on the ground like trash. Sorry, I'm just way too lucky. Immediately after, I found some vines to tie them up securely and quickly dragged them toward the surface. Since this dungeon follows traditional RPG rules, unconscious players automatically follow, so I didn't have to spend any effort during this process. When I reached the surface, I immediately called the authorities, and they were taken away, likely never to come out again. The next day, I went to the Adventurers Guild Hall. The receptionist had already received the news. Congratulations, due to your outstanding performance, you have successfully been promoted to a silver rank adventurer. After saying this, she took out a silver rank token. This was very surprising to me because upgrading to silver is usually not easy. Normally it takes more than 3 years and requires completing a large number of designated tasks. In short, one must make a corresponding contribution to the guild. Don't doubt it, this was decided by the higher-ups. The 2 marauders you caught were actually members of the Red Arm. Because the Red Arm is a group of notorious thugs, you earned a large amount of contribution points minutes this time. Speaking of which, you're really impressive. Even though you were just a bronze adventurer, you defeated 2 thugs with the strength of silver rankers. It seems to me those 2 guys were a bit weak. Maybe it's because I'm quite lucky. Saying that, I picked up the silver rank token. You are too modest. Now that you are a silver rank adventurer, you can go to higher floors to explore. The floors an adventurer can explore are limited. Bronze adventurers can only go up to the 10th floor, while silver adventurers can go down to the 30th, and gold adventurers have no limits. Now I can finally go to the 20th floor. What I need is there. Hearing my words, the receptionist reminded me, the 20th floor isn't easy to conquer. It's not recommended to go alone. Thank you for the reminder. Please rest assured, I won't actively seek death. After saying that, I turned and left. Now things were moving much faster than I expected, all thanks to those 2 marauders. At that moment, a white-haired old man suddenly called out to me, "Are you the adventurer who defeated those 2 villains?" He pointed his cane at a wanted poster on the wall. The 2 people on it were exactly the ones I had just captured. After getting my confirmation, the old man gripped my hand excitedly. "Thank you so much. My son was killed by them, and you've avenged him. Regardless of your reason for bringing them to justice, I am very grateful to you. Now I can finally go to my son's grave and tell him this good news." After saying that, he turned and walked out of the hall. In my past life, no stranger had ever thanked me. I didn't expect this feeling to be quite nice. Come to think of it, the world will be destroyed unless something changes, right? By then, I was already an old man. Now that I know the future, shouldn't I do something about it? No, don't get ahead of yourself, you slime bastard. You're not strong enough to change the whole world. The most important thing now is to save my mother. As for world destruction, that can wait for later. Meanwhile, in a dark room, a dim candle flickered on a cold weapon on a stone table. Damned bastard, how did things turn out like this? A man roared, venting his fury. I didn't expect Yamada and Hashimoto to both be arrested. If that's the case, what about the tribute for the higher-ups? Everything is the fault of that guy who ruined my plans. Takahashi Yukido, watch your neck and wait. I will absolutely not let you off. I won't give you even a single chance to resist. However, I need to be careful. Since he took down Yamada and Hashimoto all by himself, that means he's pretty strong. Still, no matter how strong he is, I have my ways. Now that I'm after you, your luck has run out. On the other side, to become stronger, I came to the 15th floor of the dungeon, the lonely Death Mountain Peak. The paths here are complex, surrounded by rugged mountain rocks. From the topographical features, it's difficult to engage in teamwork. I checked the guides before coming. It said that because of its high concealment, it became a hotbed for criminals, and that's exactly why I chose it. It's the most suitable place for an adventurer who acts alone like me. To challenge the 20th floor, I must further increase my strength. Although leveling up doesn't increase my base attributes, I can learn high-level skills. Originally, I wanted to quickly gain experience by killing silver slimes, but because I hunted too many, I never encountered them again later. It seems maxed luck isn't omnipotent. In short, for now, I can only rely on killing high-level monsters to level up quickly. As I continued to defeat various monsters here, I not only gained a large amount of experience, but also luckily dropped several pieces of S-rank equipment. And at some point, a man suddenly appeared in a corner I hadn't noticed, holding a great sword of the silver slime and wearing no other armor. It's definitely him. He's the Takahashi Yukido I'm looking for. I didn't expect you to dare enter my territory. You really don't respect me. But going out to fight him now isn't my style. I must wait for the moment he lets his guard down. And so, the bald man followed me until nightfall, but he never found any chance to strike. No, I have to think of something. I have a good idea. Actually, to deal with that bastard, I don't need to do it myself. This is my territory, and I know everything around here like the back of my hand. I just need to use it a little bit to easily crush him under my feet. Just like in the natural world, monsters also have their own ecosystem. I only need to utilize that to my advantage. First, reduce the predators here, then provide a large amount of food. As long as I give these insect monsters enough food, they can reproduce rapidly in a short time. Without natural enemies, their numbers will grow exponentially. And so, the bald man quietly laid his trap for a few days. It was time to prepare to reap the fruits of victory. This is just a common accident. An unlucky adventurer gets caught in a swarm of monsters. This way, it won't attract attention from the public or authorities. Soon, the bald man arrived at the cliff with a bag of insect repellent powder. Below was a dense swarm of insect monsters. It seemed the plan was going smoothly. Next, let's welcome the final stage. Smelling the repellent powder, all the insects became frenzied. The next second, a dense swarm of insects flew out from the canyon. Come on, devour that bastard completely. Meanwhile, I was still hunting nearby monsters when I heard the sound of buzzing from afar, and the sound was getting louder and louder. When I looked up, I was instantly frightened by the scene before me. A dark mist suddenly appeared overhead, covering the entire sky in the blink of an eye. Looking closely, I saw that it wasn't dark mist at all, but a dense mass of insect monsters. This number was not something I could deal with alone. So, I immediately sheathed my weapon and ran quickly in another direction. To deal with this group of monsters, I must cooperate with other adventurers. Just as I was wondering where to find a gathering place for adventurers on this floor, I suddenly remembered hearing news about this floor in my past life. I heard that since Delta Peak Base was built, the conquest of lonely Death Mountain Peak became exceptionally easy, and this base is located in the Red Dirt Cave. However, I specifically checked the map before coming, and there was no marker for the Delta Peak Base on it. Regardless, I'll head over first. Soon, I arrived at the Red Dirt area. At first glance, I didn't see any cave, let alone other adventurers. What on earth was going on? Had I gone the wrong way? But now wasn't the time to think about that. I jumped down without hesitation. Using the giant frog below, I moved closer. That was when I noticed something wrong with the rock wall in front of me. The color of this area was significantly different from the surroundings. It seemed the cave was inside. Immediately, I shouted, "Is anyone there? Please, I need your help." However, no matter how I called, there was no response. Looking at the approaching monster swarm, I directly raised my greatsword and hacked wildly at the rock in front of me, quickly shattering the stones. However, the scene inside the cave shocked me. What on earth is going on? A few adventurers were tied firmly to the ground, and their equipment had been stripped clean. Seeing me, they struggled desperately, clearly trying to say something, but their mouths were covered. Without hesitation, I raised my sword. A flash of sword light followed, and the ropes binding them were cleanly cut. Immediately after, I asked what exactly had happened. We were ambushed by marauders while hunting. The reason they didn't kill us is likely because they planned to sell us. Hearing this, I realized this was a criminal stronghold for marauders. Wasn't this place a supply point for adventurers? Wait, could it be that I stumbled upon something that happens in the future? If history followed its original course, this place would be discovered by the association soon, and these adventurers would be rescued, and only then would it be converted into a supply station. But now I had beaten them to it. In my past life, I wasn't very interested in this news, so I didn't know much. Back then, I spent 70 whole years on the first floor. Thinking of this, I was suddenly speechless with myself. I look at the adventurers before me. Although this was different from my previous plans, I could only fight alongside these people. Thinking of this, I shouted to the crowd, "Excuse me, everyone, please listen to me." Then I pointed to the sky outside the cave and said, "Right now, a large swarm of death swarm locusts is approaching us." Outside the cave, a large number of death swarm locusts had already gathered, each in a state of frenzy, ready to invade at any moment. Seeing this, everyone was in disbelief. How is this possible? There shouldn't be so many locusts here. What should we do? Are we destined to die here? At this moment, I immediately stepped forward. As you can see, our time is limited. If you want to survive, please unite and assist me. By utilizing everyone's strength, we can certainly overcome this crisis. However, some people in the crowd stepped forward. With just us, do you think it's possible? It's better to scatter and run. Maybe some will have a chance to survive. Most importantly, our equipment and weapons were all stolen by the marauders. In this state, we simply can't win against the locust swarm outside. Don't worry about equipment, I said, opening my system storage. With a swipe of my finger in the item column, a large amount of high-grade equipment appeared out of thin air before me. I have plenty of equipment here. Use whatever you like. Seeing the huge pile of high-grade equipment, everyone stared in disbelief. If you want, I'll even transfer ownership. A yellow-haired man observed closely and found that these were all pieces of equipment dropped on this floor, and every single one was of rare quality. Just who is this guy? I've never seen him on the adventurer rankings. Soon, everyone picked out equipment they were satisfied with. Unbelievable. I'm actually having such a lucky day. This equipment is simply amazing. At this time, a female mage asked me, "Can we really take all this?" Of course. I'm not saying that you have to do this in exchange, but will you let me take command? What do we do? Isn't it fine? He saved our lives anyway. He also gave us this equipment. I'll follow your orders. Me too. Like I'd let myself become prey to those monsters. I didn't expect everyone to be so cooperative. The sudden trust made me, someone who had always been alone, a bit overwhelmed. In my past life, I had seen too many selfish people, but now I felt unprecedented trust here. Everyone, thank you so much. Afterward, I lifted my arms outward and began to introduce my battle plan. Our biggest disadvantage is that the enemy's numbers are simply too great, but fortunately, we can use this narrow cave entrance for battle. The number of enemies that can enter the cave at one time is limited. We will use this advantage to quickly kill the death swarm locusts that fly in, thereby taking them out one by one. At this moment, seeing that no one had any objections to this plan, I immediately drew the greatsword from my back and said, "Everyone, prepare for battle." Soon, the exchange between the adventurers and the locust army finally began. According to the plan, whenever a locust flew in from the cave entrance, we had to eliminate it immediately. Using everyone's cooperation, the warriors stood at the front to intercept the monsters, while the archers and mages behind them provided long-range support. In this way, with our perfect cooperation, the locust army began to slowly decrease. However, what we didn't know was that, at this moment, countless locusts outside were swarming toward the hilltop. They had completely enveloped the mountain rocks, with bits of stone rolling down occasionally. This was because they were digging. Inside the cave, although there were many locusts, we could still barely manage thanks to everyone's cooperation. But just then, the ceiling suddenly cracked and a large amount of debris fell. Seeing this, I immediately shouted, "Don't panic, hold your formation, and retreat slowly." However, as more of the ceiling cracked, countless locusts flew out in the next second. The two closest adventurers were so scared they turned and ran. Because a large number of locusts flooded into the cave, our previous plan could no longer be executed, and we were even surrounded by them. Damn it, I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Now this unstable abandoned pit could collapse at any moment, and a number of locusts was no longer something a few of us could handle. After finally regressing, was I going to perish here? Just then, I saw explosives left behind in the mine pit, which were prepared by the marauders to expand their base. After picking it up, a system message appeared. Acquired dynamite. Crude. This might be worth a try. Immediately, I shouted to the people behind me, "Everyone, pick up the explosives scattered around." And so, the group split into two. A small team began to collect the nearby explosives, while the rest was responsible for fending off the locusts. In this way, we held on for several more hours, and a third of the entire cave had been been gnawed away by the locusts. Even worse, there was a steep cliff behind us. Now we had been pushed to a dead end. Everyone's strength was nearly exhausted, and we wouldn't be able to hold on if we didn't think of something. At this time, I looked at the cliff behind me and finally made up my mind. Listen to me, everyone. Give me all the explosives you have. Hearing this, everyone threw their explosives over without hesitation, and soon, my system storage contained a large amount of explosives. Immediately, I took out the explosives and scattered them along the cliff edge. Meanwhile, due to the locusts gnawing, the cave was about to completely collapse. Seeing this, I immediately ordered everyone to run. The others didn't hesitate and ran quickly toward the cave exit. Do you plan on dying and bringing these locusts down with you? Have you forgotten that the warrior profession cannot use bombs? Don't worry, please trust me. I then stood at the edge of the cliff, and all the death swarm locusts around were attracted to me. There are times in life when one must take risks, and it seems that time is now. Will you use 13 dynamites? As I pressed the yes button, I jumped toward the cliff. Come on, pests, let me show you what I've got. At this moment, a system notification prompted. Warning, you do not possess the explosive aptitude skill. Probability of detonation is reduced by 50%. Warning, items are crude. Probability of detonation is reduced by 25%. As a warrior, my detonation rate was indeed low, but I had maxed luck. In the next second, all the surrounding explosives detonated, and the flames instantly swallowed the charging locusts. The entire cliff was destroyed, and the remaining locust army also lost its balance due to the explosion, falling down along with me. Now I could only gamble. I stepped directly onto the falling rocks, and used the various debris in the air to continuously jump upward. Then I raised my greatsword, and used the great layering strike skill, cutting the huge rock in half with a single slash. However, one actually escaped. Truly a persistent fellow. Let me end this. I raised my greatsword, its tip continuously gathering golden light. Guaranteed hit skill, Bee Sting. Not only did it deal critical damage, it also pierced through the opponent in one hit. In this way, the last monster fell, and I was propelled toward the cliff edge by the impact. I succeeded. However, I then found that the distance to the top was still a bit far. In desperation, I had to raise my greatsword and thrust it heavily into the rock wall. But unexpectedly, the entire rock broke off. Looking at the victory within reach, I was so unwilling. Just a little bit more. At that moment, a rope was thrown over and caught my arm. I immediately gripped it. Everyone, put your backs into it and pull. Looking at this group of lovely adventurers, I suddenly realized that having companions is actually quite nice. And so, most of the locusts were crushed to death by the falling rocks, and the few remaining were either dealt with by us or fled in embarrassment. Looking at the bottom of the cliff strewn with corpses, I smiled in the afterglow of the setting sun. I finally won the gamble this time. You saved us. It's amazing that we didn't have a single casualty despite a monster panic of this scale. At the same time, I also gained a lot. For exterminating a large number of death swarm locusts, I obtained the Exterminator title, which increases damage to insect-type monsters by 20%. Additionally, my level increased by 3, and I obtained a new skill, Warrior's Intuition. Meanwhile, on the other side, because his perfect plan had failed, endless fury and fear welled up in his heart. What should I do? If this continues, I'll be killed by them. This is all that bastard's fault. I will definitely take you out, even if it costs me my life. The scene shifts, and because I saved several adventurers and resolved the locust plague, I suddenly became a celebrity among adventurers. Wherever I went, I attracted everyone's gaze, and everyone wanted to add me as a friend. Some teams even wanted to invite me to join them in conquering the dungeon. However, I politely declined them all. The reason I declined all invitations was that if I grinded monsters in a party, the loot would be distributed randomly, so I couldn't guarantee that I would 100% obtain the elixir. Furthermore, the quality of equipment dropped when others killed monsters was very low, so it was better for me to hunt alone. Well, I always went solo in my past life anyway. No point in changing it now. Afterward, I headed back home, and my mother had prepared a lavish dinner to welcome me. With one bite, I found the taste so nostalgic. I wanted the three of us to live together forever like this. Just then, my sister suddenly asked, "Speaking of which, are you really going to challenge the 20th floor? I heard from the neighbors that from the 20th floor onward, it's different from before. It's estimated that less than 15% of adventurers have broken through the 20th floor. The difficulty is unimaginable. It'll be fine. Don't the two of you already know how much I've achieved? I'm happy to see that you're doing good for the world out there. Still, you mustn't push yourself too hard. To see their child sacrifice themselves for others, no parent would want to see that. However, I knew better than anyone that if I didn't get the elixir soon, the tragedy of my previous life would repeat itself, and no child would want to see their parents unhealthy either." My mother tried to protest, but my sister stopped her. "It can't be helped, Mom. Big brother is stubborn. Once he sets his mind on something, not even a lever could make him budge. Yes, that part of him is just like your father. Anyway, you don't have to worry about me. I'm doing this because I want to." Looking at my mother, the tragedy of my past life was like a needle pricking my heart. To escape the shadow of the past and start a new life, I had to obtain the elixir. The scene shifts to a dark underground palace, the Tokyo Dungeon 20th floor, the Great Wall beyond physics. To save time, I ran quickly forward. Soon, two humanoid dolls suddenly appeared in front of me. This was a feature of this floor. All the monsters that appeared were inorganic, a group of soulless machines that only knew how to kill. However, facing the monsters before me, I had no intention of stopping. In the next second, I took them out with 2 quick slashes. Just then, a gargoyle from above flew toward me rapidly. I raised my greatsword and cut it in half with 1 stroke, and continued running forward without a pause. Moments later, later, I arrived at the door of the boss room. However, at the door, a huge black shadow blocked the way. Looking closely, I saw it was a powerful stone golem guard. Seeing the intruder, it slowly stood up and swung its fist toward me. I used my movement techniques to dodge while rapidly approaching it, and then, at the moment of proximity, I raised my greatsword and struck heavily at the core in the stone golem's chest, shattering it instantly. In this way, the stone golem lost its power and fell. I then walked to the door of the boss room and thought to myself, it's time to go. Today marks the start of my new life. When I pushed the door open and walked in, I found that the empty room had no living creatures, only a huge magic circle was drawn in the center of the floor. However, at the moment the door automatically closed, the magic circle in the center lit up, and a huge stone golem emerged. This was the 20th floor's boss, the ancient golem. This monster not only has a hard shell, but also has high attack power. But that's all. With my speed advantage, I can barely manage as long as I don't get hit. Thinking of this, I charged at the boss with my sword. The boss swung a heavy punch at me, which I easily dodged. I immediately seized this opportunity, raised my greatsword, and slashed at the stone golem's feet, my powerful strike leaving cracks behind. This was my battle plan. Since the stone golem's defense was too high, I could only destroy it bit by attacking specific areas, so destroying the core was only a matter of time. However, while I was still focusing on conquering the boss, a familiar figure quietly opened the door to the room. Takahashi Yakido. I'm here. With his entry, the magic circle in the center lit up again, and another ancient golem was summoned. I stared in shock at the new boss that had just appeared. What was going on? Normally, two bosses cannot appear in one room unless there is an interloper. However, when I looked back at the door, I didn't see anything unusual. The door was still tightly closed, which made me even more confused. Normally, if another team or individual suddenly enters during a boss fight, the abnormal situation of a double boss occurs, but even a newbie wouldn't make such a low-level mistake. While I was still wondering what was going on, a dagger flew rapidly toward me. I instantly sensed the danger behind me and swung my greatsword around. With a clang, the dagger was knocked away. Where did the dagger come from? This doesn't seem to be an accident. Meanwhile, the bald man was now quietly hiding behind a stone pillar, wanting to ambush me when I wasn't paying attention. Damn it, this guy reacts so fast, but it won't change the fact that I still have an overwhelming advantage. In my view, this guy is a fool. I checked the data before coming. It's recorded on the adventurer forums that the recommended party size for the 20th floor boss is at least 4, yet he dared to go alone, which gave me the chance. I don't need to worry about being attacked by the boss, because I'm a thief with a much higher level than that guy. I just need to use my stealth skill to erase my presence so no one can detect me. In the next second, while I was fighting the green boss, the bald man landed an attack on the red boss's back, and then activated his skill, Shadow Crossing, vanishing into the shadows in the corner. Now the red boss was enraged, and with nowhere to vent its anger, it directed its fury at me. Just in case, I even brought my prized invisibility cloak, an S-rank rare equipment that significantly reduces the probability of being discovered. This way, even if this guy senses my presence, it's impossible for him to find me. It's a 3 against 1. Let's see how you win. Saying that, he took out a bottle of poison to smear on his dagger, and then threw it toward me. Immediately, a sword light flashed past my cheek. Poison effectiveness check failed. Seeing that his deadly poison had no effect, the bald man was very surprised. Does this guy also wear anti-poison equipment? Well, it doesn't matter. The daggers are just there to keep him in check. Immediately, he threw a handful of caltrops in my direction, followed by several spiked balls that would immediately release more spikes upon contact with an object. And then there was this trap with the sound of crackling electricity on the wire. Finally, there was this poison gas. Opening the gas canister, the bald man threw it into the center of the room. Now with so many traps, your movement will be greatly restricted, and all that's left is to let these two bosses take care of you. Now I can watch the show from afar. However, what he didn't know was that although I was fighting the two bosses, I had already found him. Are your tricks all used up? How is this possible? He can actually see me? Come on, don't just stay silent. Say something. You aren't some stalker who has a crush on me, are you? Saying that, I threw the dagger back. After confirming I could see him, the bald man didn't stay silent either and immediately asked, how on earth did you find me? I'm sorry, I just happened to learn a new skill, Warrior's Intuition. You should have heard of it. It's quite a famous skill. Stop lying. How the hell would a lower ranked skill be able to find a high-level thief? Afraid to face reality? Or are you so scared you want to run? The bald man was instantly enraged by my words. You bastard. Don't look down on me. I'm better than you. With that, the bald man raised his twin blades and charged at me. Seeing this, I quickly raised my greatsword to block, and then pushed him back forcefully. That line should only be said by the last one standing, don't you think? Warrior's Intuition is a skill that others consider a useless waste, but in my eyes, it's a god-tier skill. This is a skill that can perceive nearby danger. The reason others think it's useless is that its success rate is very low, with a failure rate as high as 99%. However, for this skill that requires luck, with my luck maxed out, its success rate was practically 100%. As for the effect, it was like a circular radar that suddenly appeared in front of me, and the dots on it were all things that posed a threat to me. As a thief, the bald man could not believe that his perfect invisibility would be defeated by a skill all adventurers considered garbage. I don't care how you found me, only death awaits you. Then come and try. I'm not afraid of a guy like you who can only hide in the shadows. Immediately, the two sides clashed, and the sound of blades clashing echoed in the room. The two bosses seemed to have become spectators, but in the end, you're still just a warrior. When it comes to agility, I'm way above you, and of course, my accuracy too. Under the opponent's rapid attacks, I couldn't dodge in time, and my arm was eventually cut, leaving a trail of blood. Paralysis check, evaded. I really want to know what items you have on you. The poison from before and the paralysis toxin now didn't trigger. Just then, I leaped high, using the boss as a stepping stone to quickly get behind him, and then raised my greatsword. Great layering strike. The huge power smashed directly into the ground, but the bald man easily dodged it. However, my attack didn't end. I aimed the greatsword at the opponent. Bee sting. Seeing this guaranteed hit skill, the bald man laughed. Do you think a guaranteed hit skill will actually hit me? After saying this, he used the butterfly dance skill. The place I struck suddenly transformed into a phantom and dissipated into butterflies. The bald man's true body had already teleported behind me without a single scratch on him. Damn it, he actually dodged it. A guaranteed hit and a perfect evasion. When two conflicting skills collide, in the end, it all comes down to status. Saying that, he raised his twin blades and slashed at me, cutting my leg. I was in a pathetic state, retreating continuously. A slow warrior like you could never catch me. At this time, the bosses couldn't take it anymore. Being treated as air by the two, they fired a death ray toward us. However, I didn't even look back, simply crouching to avoid it, while the bald man dodged even more easily, not even slowing down as he continued his fierce attacks. In this way, no matter how the boss attacked, the bald man chose to ignore it, his eyes only focused on the determination to kill me. For this kind of big fellow with fixed moves, I can easily dodge without looking. You bought that information from the guild too, didn't you? At this moment, I was in a major crisis and could only defend passively, while the two bosses became loyal spectators. Soon, due to the bald man's pressure, I was forced into a corner and accidentally stepped into his trap. You have realized it by now, right? From the moment you stepped in here alone, your death was decided. Scorpion Edge. The terrifying power of his attack was too much, even with my greatsword blocking. I was blown away and smashed into the wall behind me. At the same time, my greatsword fell to the ground. At this moment, I was filled with despair. Seeing the chance, the bald man charged at me. This is the end. Die. Just as the opponent's twin blades were about to hit me, I revealed a triumphant smile. Just kidding. In the next second, the bald man was enveloped in a gravity sphere. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't break free. Damn it, a gravity trap. The moment I saw the second boss appear, I sensed an anomaly. The information we have only applies to normal situations. After all, they never expected an idiot to run into a boss battle. After the double boss event occurs, the entire room's structure undergoes subtle changes. Even the boss has changed. You call yourself a thief, and you didn't even notice the traps? Hearing my mockery, the bald man was furious. Impossible, bastard. Act like a warrior. However, at this time, the two bosses were already walking toward him. In the next second, a huge fist smashed into the bald man, the terrifying power slamming him into the wall behind him. He then fell to the ground, his consciousness starting to blur. Even so, the other boss's anger was not yet spent. It grabbed the bald man, raised him over its head, and slammed him heavily onto the ground. In this way, the bald man lost consciousness, covered in blood. This time, I really have to thank the warrior's intuition skill for letting me discover the newly appeared gravity trap. Just stay there. If you're still alive by the time I beat the boss, I'll take you to the authorities. However, unexpectedly, just as I was preparing to face the two bosses, the bald man actually stood up again and said slowly, "Are you kidding? I'd rather go to hell than be arrested." After saying that, he gave a creepy laugh. He immediately took out a large amount of explosives from his system storage and tied them all to his body. These explosives are on a completely different level from the inferior goods you have, bastard. Are you insane? If you detonate like this, you'll die. However, the bald man was now in a frenzy, willing to sacrifice himself to take me out. Will you use 100 dynamites? The bald man clicked the yes button without hesitation. Let's go to hell together. Immediately, a huge tongue of fire exploded in the room, and I quickly raised my greatsword to block in front of me. However, the ground beneath my feet had already started to crack, and in the next second, the floor of the area I was in began to collapse, and I slowly fell into the darkness. Unexpectedly, I ended up falling into a mysterious space. When I looked up, the opening above was so high that climbing back was impossible. After surveying my surroundings, I realized I had fallen into a hidden room. Just then, the two bosses from above also jumped down. Even more unfortunately, I was caught between them. While I was thinking of a way to deal with it, I was surprised to find a golden light radiating from the corner of the room. Looking closely, it was actually a golden chest. So that's it. No wonder these two bosses would chase me down so quickly. There was something they were truly guarding in this hidden room. However, the most lethal thing now was that this room was ridiculously narrow. With the boss's huge bodies standing there, they completely blocked the entire path. In this narrow space, it was difficult to perfectly dodge the boss's attacks. If I attacked head-on, I wouldn't be able to win against the pincer attack of two bosses. Now I could only gamble my fate on that chest. Thinking of this, I charged toward the chest. As expected, the boss immediately attacked me. I dodged this hit in a few jumps. However, unexpectedly, the wound caused by the bald man before suddenly sent a sharp pain. I endured the intense pain and jumped over the boss, and below was that mysterious golden chest. At this moment, the boss suddenly turned and swung his arm, smashing into my side. The overwhelming force instantly sent me flying, and the great sword in my hand was also knocked away. I slumped in the corner in pain, coughing up blood. While I was still grateful for not receiving a fatal wound, the boss raised its huge foot and stepped down on me. Seeing this, I quickly tried to dodge, but because I was too seriously injured, I couldn't avoid this hit. My feet were now a bloody mess, and I had completely completely lost all sensation. However, the will to live kept supporting me. Don't give up. So what if it is painful? I dragged my legs and crawled laboriously on the ground. Just a little bit more. At this time, the boss's huge foot fell again, and in the next second, I let out a heart-wrenching scream of pain. However, compared to the 70 years of despair in my past life, this was nothing. Having been reborn, how could I fall here? I want to prove to everyone that I can also become stronger. Mom and my sister are still waiting for me to go home. And so, with my last bit of will, I touched that mysterious chest. In the next second, a golden bracelet floated out of it, and I saw hope. Just as the two bosses were about to attack me again, I immediately grabbed the golden bracelet and put it on my arm. This bracelet is called the Warp Bracelet, a rare item that allows the user to teleport to another location. This was exactly what I needed now, and at this moment, the boss behind me had already quietly approached, so I immediately activated the Warp Bracelet skill. Warning: your profession is not compatible with the magic tool. Probability of activation is reduced by 50%. Warning: magic power is not at the required level to use this item. Probability of activation is reduced by 35%. Success rate 15%. Analyzing. However, the green boss's huge foot had already stepped down, and I quickly reached out my right hand, utilizing the energy wave generated when the bracelet was activating to flip the green boss to the ground. At the same time, the bracelet's skill was also successfully activated. In the next second, I appeared above the red boss's head, raising my greatsword and slashing at the red boss's core. This time, even if I have to risk my life, I will bring the elixir back. At this moment, the red boss's eyes gave off a brilliant light, and a death ray was instantly fired toward me. Fortunately, I dodged in time and moved behind it. Seeing the death ray leave a deep groove on the wall in front, I thought to myself, these golems are tough. Even though it had already endured the damage from the explosion before, I still couldn't directly break its defense. Well, whatever. I'm already used to doing repetitive things. Thinking of this, I activated the Warp Bracelet again. Accompanied by the system's success prompt, I arrived at the green boss's core. It was still lying on the ground and hadn't climbed up. I seized this opportunity to raise my greatsword and thrust at its core, but unexpectedly, just as I thrust down, the green boss actually shook its body, causing me to lose my balance and nearly fall. At the same time, the red boss behind me had also given chase, raising its huge hand to attack me. Analyzing. Warp successful. Instantly, I teleported behind it again and slashed at its back. However, this level of attack was not enough to cause a fatal wound to the boss. The angry boss swung its fist at me again, and I used the Warp Bracelet to move away once more. Now it's your turn. I lay directly on the green boss's core and thrust the greatsword into its gap. No matter how many times it takes, I will never give up. Under my continuous attacks, the green core was broken bit by bit. Seeing this, it attacked me again. Warp successful. And so, I teleported in front of the red boss again, slashing continuously at its core, and the red core also gradually cracked. In this way, I used the Warp Bracelet to switch back and forth between the two bosses, swinging my sword several times at their cores with each teleport. Now I had become quite proficient with this rare equipment, despite my profession not being suitable for activating its skill. With my maxed luck, I could use it at 100%. At this moment, seeing me between them, the two bosses swung their fists at me simultaneously. Just as their fists were about to hit me, I instantly activated the Warp Bracelet. In the next second, the two bosses' fists respectively smashed into each other's cores. Their cores were already scarred and had reached the brink of shattering. Seeing this, I seized the opportunity to teleport behind the red boss and used the Bee Sting skill. With one stroke, I thrust the sword into the core, shattering the red boss's core completely. In this way, I successfully defeated one boss, but the battle was not yet over. I teleported above the green boss's head again and used the skill Great Layering Strike. You're just golems with no wills of your own. I won't lose determination. Instantly, the green boss's core shattered. As the two bosses both fell, their bodies began to turn into powder and dissipate. Because of my serious injuries, my strength was severely depleted, and I fell powerlessly from the air. Warning: the usage limit has been reached. Please refill the item. As I landed on the sand the boss had turned into, the system prompted. Takahashi Yakido has defeated the boss monster, Ancient Golem. Player Takahashi Yakido has acquired a legendary item, Elixir. Seeing this dream item, I finally revealed a smile. All this was worth it. I immediately opened a bottle and drank it without hesitation. As I drank it, the sea of my heart was like a drop of water breaking the calm. The next second, a huge green light enveloped my entire body. My originally crippled feet healed rapidly before my eyes, and the wounds on my body also recovered instantly. Relief washed over me. I had survived. My body felt as though it had been given new life. This elixir will definitely cure Mom's illness. At this moment, the system prompted again. Having met the special conditions, Takahashi Yakido shall be granted a title: Survivor, Endurance plus 10, Solo Double Giant Killing, Strength plus 20, Enforcer of Justice, Dexterity plus 10. After putting the elixir on my system storage, I looked at the large hole in the ceiling and couldn't help but remark, I'm actually fine after falling from so high. I'd better go up quickly. In the next second, my body turned into a blur as I moved continuously on the rock wall, easily returning to the boss room. When I looked around, I originally thought I would see the bald man's body, but only a blood-stained invisibility cloak was left. I wonder if I can use this as evidence for his crimes. Forget it, I'll take it for now. In this way, I successfully conquered the 20th floor of the dungeon. After returning to the surface, I reported the bald man's matter to the guild. However, when I took out the blood-stained cloak, the receptionist was so scared she turned and ran. This isn't something I can handle. I must report this to the higher-ups. This caused quite a stir, and even reporters wanted to do an exclusive interview with me. But at this moment, I had no time for such boring things. I'm sorry, I have an urgent matter right now. We'll talk about other things some other time. After saying that, I turned and left the guild building. I knew my mother's illness wouldn't relapse so soon, but even 1 second earlier was better. At this moment, someone recognized me from the news. It turns out, I had successfully broken the record for the fastest conquest of the 20th floor, and now it was being reported by major media. But I didn't care about that at all. In my urgency, I quickly ran home, and the moment I pushed the door open, I found my mother and sister were already waiting at the door. Welcome home. Seeing them, I held up the elixir and smiled. I'm back. The scene shifts, and we took my mother to the hospital again. The examination report had come out. To put it simply, your mother's illness is completely cured. The effect of that elixir is truly amazing. Hearing this exciting good news, we were overjoyed. Mom, it's great. I'm so glad. And this is all thanks to Yahello. It's been hard on you during this time. My mother's gentle comfort collided with the despair of my past life, and hot tears poured from my eyes. Mom, I'm the one who should say thank you. Thank you for working hard to raise us until now. When these words finally came out, the regret from my past life and the guilt pressed in my heart all fell out with my tears. In this life, I finally don't have to be trapped in the past with despair. Big brother, you really are something. You're still in front of the doctor. You should save that stuff for when we get home. I laughed awkwardly and said, I guess you're right. Seriously, you should really pay attention to your surroundings. However, at this moment, the entire room was enveloped in darkness, and time seemed to have stopped. A figure suddenly appeared outside the window, and as the window opened, a foot stepped in. The man muttered to himself, what a beautiful and happy family, but unfortunately, it will soon become unhappy. The only saving grace is that this is a hospital. Saying that, the man walked toward my sister. As for the cause of death, let's choose cardiac arrest. Immediately, the man raised his fist and swung it toward my sister. At this critical moment, I broke through the restraint of the barrier, raising my greatsword and blocking the hit. Seeing this, the man was shocked. That's strange. Why can you move? Answer my question first. Who are you? Why are you attacking my sister? Wait, that face. You're the hero, aren't you? The so-called hero is actually the strongest among adventurers, the top-ranked adventurer on the leaderboard, known as the savior of humanity. That's right, my name is Uyama Cosmolite, and my profession is hero. So why is the hero attacking my sister? Hey, I've already answered one of your questions. Isn't it my turn to ask a question now? The only ones capable of moving in this void barrier are those whose souls have experienced death. In other words, there can only be one rational explanation for this situation. Are you also a regressor? By also, are you saying that this is your second life too? Yes, since you are also a regressor, this should be quick. What I must do now is completely eliminate all factors that affect the world's destruction. What does my sister have to do with the world's destruction? She is just one of the factors. In the future, she will have a serious negative impact on her husband. Hearing this, I immediately recalled the person my sister married in my past life. He's a very important person, one on a worldwide scale. The failure of his marriage life had a truly negative impact on him, and that will become one of the indirect causes of the world's destruction. That's why I want to remove your sister early. Are you satisfied with my explanation? Are you joking? The moment we returned, the trajectory of this life was no longer the same as the past life. For example, my mother, who was hospitalized for a long time due to illness, is now completely recovered. In that case, Nozomi won't have to work in nightlife for medical fees. And of course, that also includes never meeting that guy. So you have absolutely no reason to kill Nozomi. Perhaps you are right. However, rather than listening to your hypothesis, getting rid of her right here would make the outcome certain. There's no way I'd let my sister die before I do. This is a problem. If possible, I really don't want to kill you. In the end, I'm just doing this to save people. So, I'd really like to keep the number of unnecessary casualties down. Then hurry up and get lost. At this time, the hero suddenly had a good idea. As long as you fight a battle with me now and prove the possibility you spoke of, I will agree to let your sister go. What do you think? Why did it come down to that? I just want to know if you're special. That's all. Looking at the hero's high and mighty appearance, although I was very unhappy, I could only reluctantly agree to this duel. Hearing my agreement, the hero laughed happily. I forgot to tell you, I've already reached level 50, and all my attribute values have reached 3000. Seeing these staggering numbers, I was instantly stunned. The difference between our stats is way too large. There's no need to worry. It's simple. If you're not powerful enough, you won't be able to protect anyone, whether it be the world or those precious to you. That rule stays the same. After saying this, he turned toward the window, then raised his sword and pointed it at me. Now, choose. Will you let your sister die, or will you fight me? At this moment, I was extremely conflicted, not knowing what to do. With the warp bracelet's power, would I be able to run and hide them away? No, there's no point in a temporary solution. I won't be able to protect Nozomi even if I stay by her side every hour of the day. I took a deep breath and said with determination, I'll fight you. Hearing my answer, the hero was very satisfied. That's the spirit, but there's no need to fret. I won't tell you to do something as ridiculous as to win against me. The time limit on the void barrier's use is 10 minutes. As long as you can survive before the countdown ends, I will choose to believe you once. Are we doing it right here? Of course not. We can't possibly let the hospital get destroyed. Let's change locations. With that, he jumped down from the building. I looked back at my sister. Nozomi, I will definitely protect you. Immediately, I took the slime greatsword and jumped down. The duel between maxed luck and maxed attributes was about to begin. It should be fine here. Yeah, go easy on me. Now then, first, let's see if you can handle handle at least this much. As soon as the hero's words fell, 5 magic circles of different elements were summoned behind him. In the next second, skills and magic of various elements were fired in my direction. Going this hard right from the start, isn't this a bit too much? Enchantless on top of that, I complained while dodging the opponent's attacks. Don't be in a hurry, this is just the beginning. Saying that, he summoned 2 light clones, and then 3 heroes all charged toward me. Seeing this, I was shocked. Give me a break. Saying this, I opened the system storage and used 2 substitute dolls. Immediately, I ordered the substitute dolls to block the clones for me while I faced the main body in the center. However, I was instantly pushed aside by the opponent, and the substitute dolls nearby were also easily taken out by his clones. You sure are prepared, but you won't win if you just defend, you know? But in the next second, a melody sounded, and I took out the staff of nonsense I had used before. I know, since items can be used simultaneously, it's pretty convenient. Saying that, I swung my hand. Immediately after, the flaming boulder fell toward the hero. Although I didn't think the hero would be defeated by this attack, it should at least cause some damage, right? At this moment, a voice came from the dust. I see, so that's your regression bonus. Mine is the void barrier, while yours is good luck, isn't it? As expected of a hero, that large-scale attack only took out your clones, and with just that one move, you could see through my secret. That's where you're wrong. I deduced it from your recent active performance, combined with your attack just now. To a hero like you, is someone like me, who can only rely on luck. Quite laughable. Not really. I think luck is also a form of strength, but there are irrationalities in this world that can't be dealt with by mere luck. Saying that, the hero used even more types of magic circles, and as of right now, I am that sort of existence for you. Immediately, different elements of magic respectively summon a spirit. I knew it was impossible to gain everything just with maxed luck. There was only one chance to defeat the hero. When I saw his status bar earlier, I found that only his luck attribute was exceptionally low, or you could say he had none. I don't really want to do anything that I can't be proud of in front of my family, but I don't have much of a choice right now. At this moment, I found it strange that I don't feel hesitant at all. Then I realized that I had made the decision long ago to save my family by any means necessary. The hero attacked me again, and this time the attack was even more fierce than before. Even the nearby fire and water spirits charged over. I need to take advantage of his bad luck. Thinking this, I took out the warp bracelet from my system storage. Just as all the attacks were about to hit me, the warp bracelet on my hand also successfully activated. In the next second, I disappeared from my original spot. At this moment, the entire city was frozen due to the hero's void barrier, and I teleported onto the road. However, the hero caught up with the spirits in the blink of an eye. That warp bracelet sure is convenient. Considering its cost, I think flying magic is enough for me. At this time, I jumped from the car roof into the crowd. Sorry, but we're going to have to fight here. If your goal is to test me, then I'll be testing you too. If you're really a hero, then you wouldn't involve innocent people, would you? I see, so that's why you lured me here. I am indeed a hero, and my duty is to protect the people. Hurting them is unforgivable. Looks like it's going to be difficult to use any large-scale magic. Saying that, he snapped his fingers, and the 2 spirits behind him disappeared. Afterward, he put his sword back into the system storage. However, even that much isn't enough to be considered a handicap for me. Immediately, dozens of golden flying arrows were summoned behind him. Seeing this, I immediately put the great sword away and opened my system storage, taking out the silver slime shield. With this, blocking these flying arrows shouldn't be a problem. The hero waved his hand in the air, and all the flying arrows shot toward me. I quickly fled from where I was standing, but all the flying arrows seemed to have their own consciousness, precisely avoiding the crowd below and chasing after me step by step. Seeing this, I immediately ran toward a nearby alley, but at this moment, one of the flying arrows had already reached me. I hastily raised my shield. With a loud clang, the flying arrow was knocked away and diverted from its path. The huge power left a deep crack on the wall, followed by a loud boom as the out-of-control flying arrow pierced a nearby iron pipe. At this moment, the hero slowly landed and said, "Monsters that disguise themselves as humans, or crawlers that try and turn a city into a crime den." As we near to the end, those things become more commonplace. Saying that, he activated earth magic, and countless spikes emerged from the ground. Seeing this, I turned and ran. Is that so? I was pretty much holed up in dungeons the entire time. The surface was just a place I could get food and supplies from, that's all. So I didn't really think about it much. At this time, the hero had already caught up and said to me, "That's a real pity. I wanted us to talk about the past together as fellow regressors." Saying that, he raised his fist and charged at me. Seeing this, I dodged under a car. There isn't much I can say about it. My past life was almost like a different world. Then you should enjoy this vast sky even more. Saying that, the hero kicked downward, and a huge shockwave came straight at me under the car. I hastily raised my shield to block, but the terrifying power still sent me flying heavily. I struggled to stand up. Regrettably, I'm the kind of person who likes living in narrow places. I'm not looking for such a coward. Even if you say that, I can't change my disposition. Saying this, I took a nearby skateboard and fled quickly. Watching me leave, the hero said helplessly, "Are you trying to run away again? I'm tired of it. Didn't I tell you to prove to me that it's possible? I don't exactly welcome cowards who only know how to run away." At the same time, the hero drew a pentagram in front of him, and in the next second, countless rays of light blocked my path of escape. Seeing this, I quickly abandoned the skateboard and jumped back. However, at this time, the hero had already caught up. "If this is everything you've got, then it's the end for you." At this moment, I saw a utility pole standing nearby and suddenly had a good idea. In that case, don't blame me for being impolite. Saying that, I charged toward the utility pole and kicked it heavily, snapping the pole instantly. It's time for my counterattack. Immediately after, the utility pole slowly fell toward the hero. If the hero chose to dodge, the innocent citizens behind him would be hit by the falling pole. So in desperation, the hero could only give up dodging and take the falling pole head-on. As expected of the hero, you will never abandon innocent people. The hero casually put the utility pole down and said, "It's okay. After all, I do this on a daily basis. You did surprise me a little, though. I see. Then make sure you protect them at all costs." At this moment, the cable connected to the pole suddenly broke, and countless electric sparks crackled. Subsequently, a cable swung toward a nearby leaking gas pipe. The crackling current instantly ignited the flammable gas, and in the next second, a huge explosion occurred behind the hero. The hero was shocked and quickly turned to look, only to see that the place where the explosion occurred was already ablaze. Immediately, he summoned the water spirit. "Go put out the fire quickly." The water spirit used water magic to quickly extinguish the fire, but the fire was still too large to be put out in time. Seeing this, I immediately mocked him from the side. "Hero, that's not enough water." At this moment, the fire became even more intense, spreading to the trees on both sides of the road, and even the concrete road on the ground cracked due to the high temperature. The ground in the center of the road collapsed directly, and the two closest cars were about to fall in. Seeing this, the hero was terrified. "No way! How did it turn out like this?" He quickly summoned two more spirits and ordered them to go to the rescue. For safety, he also called out his two light clones, then led them to run quickly toward the deep pit. Fortunately, it was all still in time, and with everyone's cooperation, the citizens and cars that had fallen were finally rescued. At this time, I slowly walked toward the hero. "Hero, did you forget about me? My hands are full right now. Do you even have any attacks that would work on me? I might not be able to damage you, but at the very least, I can disturb you." Caught off guard, the hero was knocked down by me, and below was all sewage. For the clean-loving hero, this was simply hell. At this moment, the hero still wanted to reach out and grab the edge of the pit, but I went up and gave a slash, successfully knocking his arm away. In this way, the hero fell into the sewage in despair, his whole body soaked in it, and then he shouted angrily, "You bastard!" But I didn't care about his anger and took out the staff of nonsense again. "By the way, I still have plenty of that in store for you." Hearing my words, the hero suddenly lost his temper. "Fine, I surrender. It's my loss. And so, I won this duel in an extremely dishonorable way. It's true that I'm really unlucky. I get into accidents pretty often, and I also realized that you used my attacks and redirected them in order to cause the accidents. That being said, it's still strange that so many accidents happened in a row. You remember the places where accidents occurred in your previous life, right? Of course, that was one of the most tragic memories of my previous life. I can still never forget that explosion. It took away my last relative. From then on, my life was filled with darkness. More importantly, have I now proven to you the possibility you spoke of? Yes, well done, but you'll have to accompany me for a little longer." "What do you mean?" "Well, the time for the void barrier is almost over, and only I can fix the damage here, right? So, you'll inevitably have to go back to the hospital. There, you'll have to take some countermeasures against the curse-born disaster." Hearing this, I was completely confused, not knowing what the hero was talking about. "Curse-born disaster? You know, the tragedy that occurs in that hospital." "No way! Don't you know about the tragedy that happened at that hospital in the past life? That was quite a big news story. As a regressor, how could you not know? Don't play this kind of joke with me." But at this moment, I still had a silly look on my face. "I really don't know." The hero was speechless. "You really don't know about such a huge incident, even though you knew about the fires and road cave-ins?" I was suddenly embarrassed. "Actually, I spent most of my time in the dungeon in my past life. At that time, I was hunting slimes for 70 years and didn't care about anything else at all. It seems your knowledge of your past life is distorted. Then of course, that also means you definitely don't have a strategy against the curse-born disaster, right?" "Yes, I'm sorry. I really don't know what you're talking about, let alone a strategy." Hearing this, the hero sighed helplessly. "Well, I have no more time to explain it. The void barrier is about to disappear. You can go to the morgue in the hospital basement and take a look. That way, you can know the general situation. After I finish my business, I will also get there as soon as possible. I'm warning you, if you don't do anything, there will be severe casualties." Just as I wanted to ask what he meant by that sentence, the hero had already left quickly. "Forget it. I'd better go back to the hospital first." After saying this, I activated the warp bracelet. In the next second, I teleported and left. At the same time, the void barrier also completely dissipated, and people on the street returned to normal, not knowing at all about the battle that had happened near them. The scene returns to the hospital, where the doctor instructed my mother that she only needed to come for regular checkups from now on. At this moment, I was preoccupied and had no time to explain too much to my family, especially since I didn't know what would happen myself. This hospital was very dangerous now, and I had to get my mother and sister to leave quickly. At this time, my sister's stomach made a growling sound. "I seem to be a bit hungry. Should we get something to eat on the way home?" Hearing this, I seized the opportunity and said, "No, to celebrate Mom's recovery, I'll cook today's meal." Hearing this, both my mother and sister were surprised. "Brother, are you sure you can? Wow, that's unusual. You two go back first. I'll go buy the ingredients." In this way, I sent my mother and sister away, but I stayed at the hospital. Next was to go to the morgue first and take a look, but normally people aren't allowed to enter there. To facilitate the next actions, I went to the men's restroom and put on the invisibility cloak the bald man had dropped. I was using it to stop all the small fry from paying attention to me, but I didn't think I'd be using it the way criminals do. Immediately, I walked out of the restroom openly and quietly entered the elevator. Soon, I arrived at the first basement floor of the hospital. Under normal circumstances, no one would come here, so it was quiet enough to be scary. Just in case, I immediately activated the warrior's intuition. According to the radar, there was currently no danger. I then looked around for the location of the morgue and soon found it. I walked in carefully and found that in the empty room, 2 rows of hospital beds were neatly arranged and a body lay on each bed. From the current look, there was nothing unusual. Was the problem in the room inside? Thinking this, I walked toward the door on the opposite side. Just as I walked to the door, I felt like something was watching me from behind, but I didn't find anything unusual when I looked back. However, the moment I took off the invisibility cloak, red dots suddenly appeared on the radar. In the next second, the beds began to make creaking sounds, and the originally motionless bodies suddenly moved eerily, with low growls coming from their mouths. Soon, all the bodies, like zombies, moved toward me in a wobbly way. I see, so this is the curse-born disaster the hero mentioned. Now that I think about it, this is around the time that the leading adventurers reached the floor of the undead. Just then, a long-haired zombie targeted me and then pounced at me quickly. I immediately raised my greatsword, and one slash took it out. These zombies didn't carry a virus. The reason they became like this was that they died from a curse. If they weren't buried as soon as possible, they would turn into zombies after a period of time, and this curse also had the characteristic of infecting corpses. In my previous life, I heard that it could be dealt with through a ceremony, but in this life, nobody knows about that yet. The only good news was that this curse could not be transmitted to living people through the air unless they were bitten. To block them, I used the bed boards to block the path. However, one was clearly not enough. I had to move a few more bed boards as I dealt with the zombies. Soon, I used 3 bed boards to completely block the path. From the gaps, I could see that some zombies were high-level adventurers when they were alive. If you hadn't turned into a zombie, I definitely wouldn't be your opponent. Saying that, I thrust my sword in, but just then, the doorknob behind me kept shaking. It seemed there were new zombies behind the door. In the next second, the door was opened, and 2 zombies rushed out from the inner room. One female zombie fell directly to the ground, while the male zombie pounced at me. Seeing this, I quickly turned and took it out with one slash. Then I raised my greatsword and aimed it at the other female zombie on the ground. Just as I was about to act, I was surprised to find on the radar that the female zombie in front was actually neutral and posed no danger to me. In other words, this person lying on the ground wasn't a zombie. At this moment, the woman on the ground spoke in terror. "Save me. I'm not dead. It can't be. You're still alive. You must be from a funeral home, here to take one of the bodies. There's no helping someone who's already become a zombie, but there's a way to cure a living creature who's just been cursed. However, I doubt that they have the necessary medical equipment, and the bed boards on the side definitely wouldn't last too long. Should I choose to save this woman first, or prioritize killing this group of zombies? What a trouble." Finally, I opened the system storage and put the war bracelet on my arm. In the next second, I successfully activated it. Making the antidote required an alchemy tool, holy water, leaves of the world tree, and finally the blood of the person taking the medicine. Soon, I prepared all the things and returned to the morgue, then leaned down and took a drop of blood from her finger. This way, all the materials were gathered. Next was to mix them step by step according to the instructions. This was my first time making medicine. "Please, it must succeed," the system prompted. "Beginning production of evil banishing holy medicine. Warning, profession is not compatible with alchemy. Probability of success reduced by 25%. Warning, user does not possess advanced alchemy skills. Probability of success reduced by 70%. Warning, not enough magic power. Upon success, there is a 1% chance of good quality, a 2% chance of average quality, and a 97% chance of inferior quality. Evil banishing holy medicine produced successfully. Hold on, lady, I've made the antidote." As she drank the potion, a healing light suddenly emerged from her body, and she soon returned to normal. As expected of superior quality holy medicine, the effect was indeed good. I helped her sit in the corner, and then picked up the greatsword of the silver slime, ready to face the group of zombies again. However, I was surprised to find that the zombies that were noisy just now were now eerily quiet. What on earth was going on? Where did the zombies go? When I looked through the gap, what I saw terrified me. Those zombies actually fused together, their appearance twisting and deforming, finally forming a huge monster. With one roar, the terrifying sound wave directly blew away the bed boards in front of me. Hey, shouldn't slimes be the only creatures combining themselves? So this is the price I have to pay for helping others. If that hero were to see this, he'd probably burst into laughter. Next time I see him, I'll definitely give him a piece of my mind. Thinking this, I charged with my sword. At the same time, the monster extends 2 tentacles and quickly swings them at me. I hastily ducked to dodge this hit, and then one slash took off one of its heads. Anyone who has seen zombie movies knows their biggest weakness is the head. However, this fellow seemed to have quite a few heads on his body. At this time, the monster's tentacles struck again. I quickly stepped aside to dodge, and then with one slash, I took off another head. It seemed that killing it would take some effort. In this way, I cut off the incoming tentacles while taking off its heads. In a short while, I had taken off most of its heads. Just when I thought I was about to win, suddenly, the main head I just cut off was actually recovering rapidly, and in a few moments, it had completely restored. You've got to be kidding me. Subsequently, the monster swung its tentacles again, but this time the target wasn't me, but the 2 bodies I had killed before. The monster slowly curled the bodies into the air and then opened its bloody mouth and swallowed them in one gulp. In a short while, the heads I just cut off actually grew back again, all restored. This big fellow was indeed quite troublesome. In short, to beat the monster in front of me, the speed of cutting off all the heads must be faster than its recovery speed. But most of my current skills are one-on-one, and I have no area of effect damage skills. Although I could use the Staff of Nonsense to cast magic, I couldn't release large-scale magic here. If the power was too great, it would only destroy the entire hospital. Do I have to wait for the hero to arrive? That would feel like admitting my defeat, so I don't want that. However, at this moment, I was shocked to find that the remaining surrounding zombies were all walking toward the amalgamated monster and then slowly merged into its body. Immediately, several more heads grew out of the monster's body, and it even grew new arms. To make matters worse, it grew even larger than before. Seeing this, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I had to eliminate it as soon as possible. If it grew any bigger, the doctors and patients upstairs would be in danger. Just then, the monster initiated an attack first. Its huge body, coupled with continuous attacks, made the entire morgue already a mess. I had to defeat it quickly. If it strengthened any further, I would have no chance of winning at all. That being said, I had no way to win. I needed a tool now that could cut off all the heads at once but wouldn't destroy the hospital. Suddenly, I saw the things scattered in the corner and immediately thought of a good plan. After blocking the opponent's attack, I immediately hid behind the bedboard in the corner. This alchemy furnace was a good tool. At this moment, a tentacle swung over, nearly piercing the bedboard. Since I didn't have the tool I wanted, I could just make one on the spot. Fortunately, the materials I needed were right by me. Thinking this, I dismantled the iron frame on the bedboard, then put it into the system storage, acquired 4 pipes. However, at this moment, the monster's tentacle had already split the bedboard. Don't be so anxious, bastard. Wait for me for a while. Saying that, I put the bedboard split in half into the system storage. With this, I acquired a steel plate. Immediately after, I took out the silver slime shield. I'll use this to stall for a bit of time. I saw several tentacles quickly attacking me, and I ducked while blocking with the shield, then took out the alchemy manual from the system storage. What I wanted to make was a black powder. The materials needed for it are charcoal, sulfur, and potassium nitrate, but I had none of these currently. Originally, I wanted to use the war bracelet to buy them, but the remaining energy was not enough for a round trip. I guess I really used it too much today. In that case, I can only find them on the spot. While dodging the incoming tentacles, I looked for available materials. Soon, I saw broken wood in the corner. After obtaining it, I casually threw it into the nearby alchemy furnace and started the production of charcoal. Warning: profession is not compatible with alchemy. Probability of success is reduced by 25%. Warning: user does not possess intermediate alchemy skills. Probability of success is reduced by 60%. Warning: not enough magic power. Upon success, there is a 2% chance of good quality, a 3% chance of average quality, and a 95% chance of inferior quality. Soon, a charcoal of good quality has been successfully produced. Next were sulfur and potassium nitrate. Although I didn't know how to obtain these, I had the weapon of modern civilization. Immediately, I asked artificial intelligence on my phone and soon found a bunch of methods. The simplest way was to extract them from matches. Seeing this, I remembered that the incense sticks on the table were lit, and so I walked over to the lady who was still unconscious, and sure enough, I found a box of matches from her bag. It seemed my luck was good. Saying that, I threw it into the alchemy furnace, and the system prompted again, extracting sulfur and potassium nitrate from the matches. Warning: profession is not compatible with alchemy. The probability of success is reduced by 25%. Warning: user does not possess intermediate alchemy skills. Probability of success is reduced by 60%. However, with my luck, the extraction was successful, and I obtained sulfur and potassium nitrate. Seeing this, I immediately threw them all into the alchemy furnace and successfully produced good quality black powder. Then I took out the steel plate I had collected before and successfully produced a bunch of bullets. Since the bullets were ready, only one thing was left. Immediately, I drew my design on paper. At this time, the monster made an angry roar due to multiple failed attacks, and then dragged its heavy body and charged at me. Don't you know that enthusiasts hate running zombies? Saying that, I threw my design into the alchemy furnace, and the draft of a gun was clearly drawn on the paper. Then I took out the steel pipes I had collected before. In the next second, the system prompted, first recipe of its kind in the world, starting creation alchemy. Warning: profession is not compatible with alchemy. Probability of success is reduced by 25%. Warning: user does not possess advanced alchemy skill. Probability of success is reduced by 70%. Warning: user does not possess the metallurgy skill. This will have a negative impact on the quality. Warning: not enough magic power. Upon success, there is a 0.01% chance of good quality, a 0.99% chance of average quality, and a 99% chance of inferior quality. However, a good quality pipe shotgun was successfully produced. At the same time, 2 shotguns appear in my hands, already automatically loaded with bullets. Now it's finally my turn to counterattack. As I raised the 2 shotguns and aimed at the monster in front, the system prompted again. Warning: professions is not compatible with firearms. The probability of misfiring is increased by 30%, and accuracy is decreased by 30%. Come and see the strength of my dual shotguns. Firing successful. Instantly, huge tongues of fire sprang from the muzzles, and several powerful bullets shot toward the monster. With just this one shot, I once again took off the monster's main head, but as expected, the destroyed head was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, just at the moment it was about to restore, I blew it up again with one shot. I'm not letting you do that. Saying this, I fired another shot at the monster's body, directly blowing a hole in it. The monster instantly lost lost its balance and lay on the ground. How tenacious, but I'm pretty confident about my own tenacity too. At this moment, I walked slowly toward the monster with the shotguns, and then fired continuously at its whole body. Moments later, the system notification prompted, out of ammo. At the same time, the monster on the ground had already been beaten into a pulp by me, and the only thing identifiable was the remaining half head. Instantly, I stomped on it heavily, and the system prompted again. Takahashi Yakido has subjugated the accumulated mass of curses. This is the world's very first subjugation. You have been bestowed the title of Divine Slayer. Seeing this defeat prompt, my tense nerves finally relaxed. It's finally over. There shouldn't be any other zombies, right? Just then, the woman who was unconscious behind me also slowly woke up. That's great. It seemed the antidote she took before had worked. At this time, it suddenly occurred to me. How am I going to explain why I'm here? As an outsider who intruded without permission and now covered in blood holding 2 shotguns, I didn't look like a good person at all. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I quickly put the shotguns into the system storage. Damn it, I'm in a place where only certain people are allowed to enter. Discharging a gun outside a dungeon is clearly a crime too. I guess I should put on the invisibility cloak and get away from here for now. However, at this moment, there was some noise outside the door. Crap, someone's here. As someone belonging to the warrior class, there's a limit to the stealth abilities I can use. There's barely energy left in this warp bracelet, but please, just work one more time. I tried to activate it, but the remaining energy of the warp bracelet was not enough. It's no good. I guess I can't expect things to go my way all the time. At this moment, the door of the morgue was opened, and 2 guards with weapons rushed in first, followed by a group of guards carrying a sedan chair who walked in slowly. I saw a little girl sitting on it, focusing on playing with her phone. I didn't expect it to be people from the church. This seemed a bit troublesome. Although I was wearing the invisibility cloak, I had already been detected by them. Lady Naomi, there is a suspicious man here. However, the girl didn't even look up, continuing to play with her phone as she spoke. Is he an enemy of God? After getting the answer from her subordinates that they couldn't confirm, the girl sighed helplessly and casually tossed the phone over. Continue the raid event for me. Saying that, she stepped down from the sedan. Fortune should be amassed in heaven. I can't possibly be allowed to lose against these pay-to-win players. After saying that, she walked slowly toward me under the gaze of the soldiers. This made me nervous. So, are you an enemy of God? I quickly pulled back the invisibility cloak and said seriously, no, the opposite. I'm the one who defeated the undead here. And how did you know that the undead would appear? You don't look like a staff member of this hospital. Does that mean you possess a skill that can detect the undead faster than I? Just when I didn't know how to explain, a familiar figure walked in. I'm the one who discovered it and sent him here. The person who came was the hero. Seeing him, everyone immediately bowed to the hero. He became my representative because I was busy trying to deal with the accident. I see. Since he's someone the hero knows, he definitely won't be a suspicious person. His karma count is quite low too. Hearing this, I was very confused. Karma count? That's right. My Sinai allows me to see good and evil in the form of numbers. As expected of the church's youngest to have the saint profession, so it's a rare profession exclusive skill. It isn't as impressive as you make it sound. Hero, by the way, could that man be part of the next holy subjugation? Instantly, the scene fell silent. Moments later, the hero cheerfully replied, yes, that's right. I'm sure that he will be of great help to you, and together, you'd be able to free the temple from the hands of evil. Understood. Since the hero has said so, I will personally take him to the scene. Leaving my subordinates aside, I don't really mind having my fate handled by others so arbitrarily. I was instantly filled with anger. Hey, don't just have this conversation without me. Yakido, you sure love joking around. After saying this, the hero then became serious again. Come to the side with me for a bit. So the 2 of us walked to the corner alone. I'm sorry, but could you help her in my place? You should know about the Temple of Job Changes, right? That's a very important facility for adventurers. You can increase your class with your current profession, or even change to another if your current one doesn't fit you. In our past life, the holy subjugation failed, and the liberation of the Temple of Job Changes was delayed. Because of that, the adventurers were weakened, and our enemies only became stronger. If you already know about it, why don't you help her? As much as I'd like to do that, I'm also busy. There are too many threats growing around the world. Still, why should I go? You should know that having a connection with the church isn't a bad thing either. After all, you need to use the church in order to clear the deeper levels. Hearing this, I fell into deep thought. The church has a monopoly on everyone who can use support and healing magic. They give strong barriers for adventurers in the lower floors, and they even have warp magic that helps them to move between them. They also set up multiple teleportation stations in the depths of the dungeon, allowing adventurers to move quickly between floors. Thinking of this, I agreed to the hero's request, but before that, swear to me that you'll never harm my family again. Of course, I'm not going to interfere with people who are useful to the world. So in other words, you're only going to leave me alone as long as I'm still useful, right? Hey, you're making it sound like I'm threatening you or something. It's just a favor. Well, I guess it's fine, but I don't really want to do this without a proper explanation. Alright, then you should know about. After the hero's explanation, I basically understood the general idea. At this time, Naomi on the side was a bit impatient. Have you finished? Yes, sorry for making you wait. It's fine. We've been busy purifying everything. After saying this, Naomi activated a skill and purified the blood on my clothes. Well then, shall we move to the church nearby? For what? To check your abilities. After all, going with someone without at least the bare minimum in abilities is dangerous, and at this moment, the hero behind had already left quietly. Good luck, Takahashi Yakido. I believe you can do it. Left with no choice, I helplessly followed them. It seems I'm not going to make it for lunch. Soon after, we arrived at the nearest church. Then let us begin. Your opponent will be one of my subordinates. They're quite ordinary. Their average level is around 40. At this moment, I saw a holy knight step out from the ranks and draw his longsword, aiming it at me. Although their level was a bit higher than mine, I could still fight. In the next second, we clashed. Meanwhile, Naomi took out a bag of bread crusts from who knows where, and then leisurely chewed them while enjoying the battle in front of her. On the other hand, in several exchanges, I found that the opponent seemed to be much weaker than I had imagined. A holy knight should be a defense-oriented profession, but even so, his strength shouldn't be to this extent. At this moment, Naomi, who had finished her bread, finally acted. You're doing quite well. In that case, I'll show you a glimpse of God's favor. Heraclea, Axelar, as her magic staff fell, a surge of red mana instantly enveloped the holy knight, and I found the opponent's combat power had increased a lot. Instantly, the situation was reversed. Damn, is this the power of her buffs? Now the holy knight's attack and defense are both very high, which is very unfavorable for me. But just then, I was surprised to find a flaw in the opponent's gauntlet. A vital screw was not tightened. Maybe I can use that. Thinking this, I swapped my greatsword for a shield, and then took out a small piece of iron scrap, a waste left over from the metal refining process. At this moment, the holy knight leaped high toward me and used the skill, Thor's hammer. Seeing this, I used the skill, Bee Sting, and charged toward the holy knight. Golden light flashed, and the iron scrap pierced straight into the flaw in the opponent's armor. In the next second, the armor exploded. Seeing this, I immediately raised my shield and used shield bash, directly numbing the opponent's arm. In this way, the holy knight lost his balance and fell to the ground, while I took his sword and aimed it at him. Do you want to keep going? Well done. You've passed. You're quite strong. Thank you. After saying this, I returned the sword to the holy knight and thought to myself, but rather me being strong, aren't these guys relying on the buffs too much and slacking off? Alright, now I'm really welcoming you into the team. Got it. See you later then. After that, I went back home. Fortunately, I was in time to prepare today's lavish dinner, although my own plate seemed to be a bit burnt. Now, eat up. As expected, letting brother cook is not a reliable decision. Let's eat Nozomi. Yukido went through the trouble of making it for us. Although the lavish meal I made was not very good, my sister and mother still started eating. Mom really got better. That's one of my past life's regrets cleared. I have enough savings to last until Nozomi becomes an adult, but I don't know when that hero will change his mind. I need to become strong enough to defeat him. That being said, I can't actually do anything to him right now, but for now, I should deal with the problem in front of me, the Temple of Job Changes. Meanwhile, on the other side, many holy knights collectively requested to see Naomi. We've come here with a petition for the holy subjugation to liberate the temple. You have a problem with the next holy subjugation? We believe that adventurers shouldn't be allowed to participate. Their karma is far too high. It's too dangerous. Naomi was helpless when she heard such a topic again, and thought to herself, in all honesty, all I want to do is deepen my faith, but just being a saint practically guarantees that you'll get dragged into politics. At this moment, the leading holy knight strongly said, seeing as adventurers have always been present, couldn't they be the reason our past liberation attempts failed? It's possible. In fact, the church headquarters even studied the information relating to the past failures to look into the very same thing. The result was that the better the party's behavior, the higher the odds of success. So the church headquarters used a hidden status to evaluate how good or evil they are. It was then determined that the strength of the divine enemies increased or decreased depending on their karma values. Exactly. So it's only right that we, those with low karma, carry out this operation ourselves. However, the hero himself said that relying on karma alone is too dangerous. Hearing these words, the leader was instantly enraged. We must do so even if it's not completely reliable. Adventurers live a debaucherous life. On the other hand, we spend our lives devoted to our faith. It's obvious to see who's in the right, and according to my investigation, there were even criminals among the group of adventurers before. While you have provided some valid points for consideration, I already made a promise that they'd be allowed to accompany us, and I won't be made a liar. But you didn't promise that we had to fight together, did you? Very well. If you are all so insistent on this matter, then we will not allow the adventurers to participate in the fighting inside the temple. So long as the temple is liberated from the hands of evil, I'm good with anything. After hearing the satisfactory answer, everyone knelt on one knee to express their thanks. Time passed in the blink of an eye to the day of the holy subjugation, but I waited for a long time and didn't see the other party come to discuss the specific battle plan with me. Naomi just sent a message saying the plan would be announced on the actual day, and because of what happened before, I was appointed as the captain of the adventurers this time. The scene shifts, and I arrived at the first floor of the dungeon. When I greeted Naomi and the others, Naomi returned the greeting calmly. However, I was surprised to discover that the people from the church clearly did not welcome me at all. It seemed this cooperation would be very troublesome. Afterward, I met the other adventurers who would help in the holy subjugation. I'm sorry that an amateur like me has taken on the role of your leader. Unexpectedly, everyone was not opposed to me being the captain. No, you don't have to worry about that. Since you are an adventurer the hero thinks highly of, we will also believe in you unconditionally. You should know the hero often helps us. Is that so? Yes. If it weren't for the hero, we'd be rotting in jail right now. Hearing this, I thought to myself, I guess that guy does act like a hero most of the time. However, I'm still not all that convinced. At this time, Naomi on the side shouted, well then, our goal is the temple on the 30th floor. We're going there for a holy subjugation. And so, everyone went to the location of the church on the first floor. In the floors where humans can live peacefully, there will certainly be a church. Normally, Using the teleportation circle in the church requires a huge donation, but since we are here to help this time, we can use it for free. As the nun on the side kept chanting magic, we performed an instantaneous transfer through the teleportation magic circle and arrived on a different floor. And the place we were in now was Tokyo Dungeon 30th floor, the Stagnate Aurora, Eternal Polar Night. This was a world with only night, and the entire area was lit by the faint light of the aurora. The weirdest thing was that there was no boss on this floor, because adventurers could enter the next floor directly without fighting. We soon arrived at the destination of this trip, the Temple of Job Changes. I then immediately asked Naomi, "It's time for you to tell us your battle plan, right?" I saw Naomi pointing to the temple ahead, saying, "We'll be the ones to fight the evil inside the temple. As for you adventurers, please patrol the area and stay on guard." Hearing this, I was stunned. "Do you mean you won't let us participate in the battle?" At this time, the captain of the Holy Knights stepped forward. "It's nothing personal. It's just that if people with high karma like you were to enter the temple, it'd be too dangerous. You can just leave dealing with the evil to us, the experts." Hearing this, I was very angry. Indeed, what the hero said was right. Karma count is a flawed indicator. It's fine if you meet purely evil people, but if you meet hypocrites, the karma count will only give the opposite result. Therefore, the karma count is often utilized by people with bad intentions. And right now, Naomi is being used by those people. What about that assassination thing you're so good at? If tens of people were to die out of nowhere, it'd cause quite the fuss. As even the church started to rot, I immediately stepped forward to fight for the interests of the teammates behind me. "You should know we still have to report this mission to the Adventurers Guild. We can't exactly do this half-heartedly. We'd end up losing the people's trust." Of course, Lady Naomi is magnanimous. "The request has already been marked complete, and you will receive the reward too. Anyone who isn't satisfied with what's happening is free to leave. There will be no issues." How truly magnanimous. "You're really giving us all this money for doing nothing?" Since words had been said to this extent, I was embarrassed to insist any longer. After all, we were just hired reinforcements, and our position was very weak to begin with. Although the Holy Knights were all excited, Naomi alone kept her head down and was very distressed. "Please excuse us." After saying this, she left us and turned to walk toward the temple. The adventurers didn't have much objection to things turning out like this. Anyway, the mission was considered completed, and they just had to wait to collect the reward. However, only I knew that if things continued like this holy subjugation would end in a tragic defeat and would instead accelerate the world heading toward destruction. Just what the hell am I supposed to do? You damn unreasonable hero. Meanwhile, the people from the church walked into the temple on their own. However, the scene that greeted them shocked them. In front of a divine statue, a group of monsters of different races was actually kneeling. The monsters aren't attacking us. I always felt something was not quite right. While Naomi was still thinking about the reason, the Holy Knight on the side had already charged first. However, as they charged, a black gas floated out of them and was gradually absorbed by the statue in front. In the next second, the statue actually opened its terrifying mouth, and in an instant, it transformed into an evil god and gave off a terrifying aura. Why is the evil god still strengthened even though we are clearly holy believers? Is there someone here who hasn't been entirely innocent? When doubt arose, all the Holy Knights began to doubt themselves. The company's assets aren't privately owned. I should be safe, right? Wasteful spending is bad, but generously donating expensive items with good intentions should still be okay. Adultery isn't allowed, but repeatedly marrying and divorcing should still be safe. It might be bad if the temple's boss found out the truth about me, but I'm sure that the other guys here are all devoted believers. It will be fine if I'm the only bad egg. Everyone held a fluke mentality. Seeing this situation, Naomi sighed helplessly. Indeed, as the hero said, you can't believe in a person's surface too much. Listen up, everyone, no matter who the apostate is. That's a matter for later. For now, focus on the enemies in front of us. Hearing this, the Holy Knights raised their longswords and charged at the monsters, and Naomi activated buff magic from behind. However, the opponent's configuration was too complete. There were actually mages in the back releasing fireballs, coupled with the evil god's buff effect on them. This group of monsters was terrifyingly powerful now. Don't panic, everyone. These are just ordinary monsters below the 30th floor. We have already reached the 40th floor. There's no reason we would lose to them, Naomi said as she activated healing magic, and the Holy Knight's morale was reignited. That's right, we are strong. However, at this moment, the evil god statue changed again, and a large amount of demonic energy poured out of its body. At the moment the black gas touched the monsters, a huge power exploded from their bodies. In this way, the monsters' strength overall suppressed the human side. The Holy Knights were beaten back. Why did it turn out like this? I've never heard of this kind of situation. Seeing this scene, Naomi thought to herself, did its divinity grow each time it killed an adventurer and obtained more authority? It appears that humans aren't the only ones who can have skills that can level them up. At this moment, a Holy Knight was bitten by a demon wolf, and at the same time, another was tightly held by an ogre. They're keeping them alive on purpose so they can keep draining my magic power. Meanwhile, this caused some cowardly Holy Knights to suddenly feel fear. Hey, can we really win this? It's looking pretty bad. The emotion of fear instantly nurtured a large amount of black gas, and after the evil god absorbed this gas, its appearance changed again. Damn it, it is using everyone's fear to continuously strengthen itself. Left with no other choice, Naomi made up her mind. Victory cannot be attained without sacrifice. I hereby declare this shall be my place of martyrdom. I will be using sacrifice magic. Please carve open a bloody path to the statue. Hearing this, the Holy Knights raised their swords and charged. However, this faith collapsed in an instant. happened. The 2 holy knights at the very front were instantly killed by the monsters. Watching this tragic scene, the remaining holy knights were all so scared their legs were shaking. The demon wolf, with just one look, scared them into completely losing their courage to fight, and they turned and ran toward the door, leaving the saint behind. What are you all doing? Return to the battle at once. But at this moment, the holy knights had completely lost their sanity, knocking desperately on the temple's door. Seeing such a situation, Naomi fell into despair. I have the resolve to die a martyr. However, I do not want my death to be in vain. Meanwhile, outside the temple, the hired adventurers were all waiting there boredly. Everyone, I know that we've officially completed the temple request. However, I would like to make another request for us to liberate the temple. We have no time to return to the Adventurers Guild, so it'll have to stay as a verbal promise for now. Everyone was very confused when they heard my words. Why would you go so far to help those people inside? That's because I believe that there's a reason that the hero decided to send us to this place. A child is being exploited by adults. It doesn't really feel right with me to leave the issue alone. We must hurry. If anything happens, we might regret it for a lifetime. You're right. How can we just go back like this? Adventurers are only responsible for themselves, but I guess expecting that of a child is a bit too much. Thank you, everyone. Immediately, we walked toward the temple's door. I looked at the group of people behind me and found that not a single person chose to leave. The hero really gathered a group of good adventurers. Without hesitation, I went forward to observe the temple's door, then turned and said to the others, everyone, prepare to break in. But at this moment, a powerful evil aura emanated from the temple. Seeing this, I immediately activated the warrior's intuition, and on the radar, a huge red ball was clearly displayed below. This is definitely way more of a risk than we can handle. It's no good. I can't exactly put the lives of my comrades in danger. Just like that, because of this aura, half of the adventurers chose to leave here. Now with only a few of us left, we had to go in and take a look, no matter what. I can't exactly blame anyone who left. If it wasn't for my sister, I might have also turned back as well. Suddenly, the adventurers behind me called out, "Leader, you've got to put on a smile at times like these. Fake your confidence. If you fool your body, then you're bound to win." Just when I was moved by their words, the door was suddenly opened, and 2 holy knights rushed out in a panic, but they were kicked back by me. "You seem to be in a hard fight. Do you need the help of us adventurers?" Seeing our arrival, Naomi finally gained hope, and the holy knights who ran away defended themselves. "Stop it. Non-believers must not enter. If fallen people like you enter, then God's enemies will just become even stronger." However, after we all walked into the temple, the evil god's appearance didn't change. Why is the enemy not changing at all? That man over there has a criminal record for thievery, and that woman over there is a former prostitute. Hearing this, I was instantly furious. Shut your fucking mouths, you damn hypocrites. If God only blessed those who've done no sin, then there wouldn't be a single believer in this world. My words instantly made the holy knights fall silent. We'll prove